All right, let's go. But thank you so much for being here. This is an impromptu podcasters assemble meetup where we talk about podcaster burnout. I feel like it is something that's really important and crucial in today's day and age. How about we get started with you sharing with the audience who are watching this live or replay, probably more on the replay side, about a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what you're most excited to take away from this wonderful session.
Yeah, definitely. So my name is MJ Flowells. I am the host and executive producer of Off the Struggle Bus, which is a podcast that focuses on navigating the space between scarcity and abundance. Um, my background is in communications and tech, working for government agencies and national nonprofits here in the US. And I am, what was the last question? Like, what am I
What's your
excited
biggest
about?
takeaway? And yeah, I mean, what you're excited about? What's the biggest thing that you want to take away from the session?
Well, I'm excited to. Well, I joined the session first of all because I am not quite burnt out from podcasting, but I could see it coming
Mm-hmm.
because I've challenged myself to have a weekly podcast. And as a solo operation here, it's hard, right? Because you're trying to figure out the content. Thankfully, I have like a long list of guests that we could pull from, but I could see it taking a toll. But since podcasting is the fun thing I get to do, because my day job is in politics, like US politics, which could be very heavy, and podcasting is like my creative outlet where I get to meet awesome people, right? Um, I don't want the podcasting side of things to be where I get burnt out because at the
Mm.
moment it's where I get my energy, where I get my, fire from, and I love meeting and learning from all the folks that have come on the podcast and attending conferences like this at Podfest.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I am super excited to support you on this journey. With that, let's get started. For everyone who's watching this live or replay, I'm Madhurima Sapati. I'm a freedom soul coach and I help multi passionate, ambitious dreamers basically manage their stress and prevent burnout so that they can go out there and do the things that they love doing without their own selves holding them back. My mission in life at the moment is to make stress management fun, is to ensure that people understand that stress management doesn't need to be this heavy thing that you have to do, otherwise you will end up being burnt out. But it can be something that can add a bit of fun to their life that they can do on the offside and still manage their stress pretty easily. So that is my mission in life. Thank you so much for being here. Here's how this will work out. We will jump into number one, understanding what burnout actually is. So burnout in and of itself is this state that we enter when we are too exhausted, when we feel like everything is crashing and burning around us. You might feel like you're looking at yourself from the outside and you're hating on yourself for everything that you're putting out there. You have no motivation to continue doing the thing that you love. You don't have any passion left for the things that you want to do. And I know it sounds all grim and scary, but personally for me, I feel like it's just our body's defense mechanism. It's our last line of defense, because what essentially happens is burnout is stress that hasn't been managed properly for a really long time, right? So if we manage our stress pretty early on, we prevent ourselves from getting burnt out. However, if we don't manage it, it's not like, I'm stressed today, the next second I will end up becoming burnt out. It's basically, it's been gathering up and piling up till a point where our body's like, you know what? This lady is not going to take care of herself, so we have to do it for her. We are shutting everything down. And we burn out, and we're basically like, in that moment, the best thing for us to do is rest, relax, rejuvenate ourselves, look at things, figure out what to do next so that we ensure that we don't end up in this space again. But because we are not well aware of the burnout process, what we end up doing is pushing ourselves even harder, because we are like, things are not working out, so that means I'm not good enough. The amount of things that I'm putting in is not good enough. Basically everything that I do sucks, and I need to do more to ensure that I get out of the state, which is essentially just increasing the time period that we are burnt out for. Right, we are genuinely just pushing the engine after it has caught fire. instead of watering it down and being like, yo, calm down, we can take a minute here, right? So that is all it is. Burnout might sound scary, but know that this is basically the last thing that happens if we haven't been managing our stress for a pretty long time. Having said that, how do we actually manage our stress, right? Like, if it is stress management that is the thing that's leading us to burnout, or poor stress management that is leading us to burnout, how do we manage our stress better? A lot of people ask me, how do we avoid burnout? And I'm like, manage your stress better. How do you manage your stress better? Number one, the biggest things that you can do to manage your stress better is to be aware of yourself, right? Awareness is extremely crucial in this journey. You can't look at your body responding to stress and being like, you know what, I see you, but I'ma ignore you. I got too excited there. I see you, but I'ma ignore you because I have to focus on getting this done, and we will deal with it when things kind of reach rock bottom. I don't have to deal with you. Remember that rock bottom is basically burnout. You don't want to end up there. You have to manage your stress early on, and the biggest way to do that is to be aware. How do you be aware? I like to play this game called the burnout awareness game, and it's all about noticing what are things that usually stress you out, right? For me, for example, exams, being in high stress situations, like being somewhere where people are looking at me, could potentially stress me out. That could be a reason that I would feel stressed out about life, right? It could be when I am presenting in front of the world and everyone is like looking at me expecting me to deliver something really dope, and you're just like, right? So that could be
Yeah.
something that stresses me out. um, Health is something that stresses me out, right? Like, if I feel like someone's not doing well in my house, in my family, in within me, if I'm not doing good, that could potentially lead me to stress. If I feel like I'm not doing a good enough job in supporting my community, in putting things out there, that could stress me out. I now know what potentially stresses me out, so if I see it coming, I'm already prepared for it, right? If I know that I have to present at a really big thing, or for me, I have travel anxiety, so if I know that I have to go to my best friend's wedding literally 2 months from now, I'll start preparing now itself. I'll start to ensure that I am in a space where I'm ready to go out there and do the things. And a lot of people think of it as weakness, like, huh, she can't even like travel outside. I'm like, no, 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 I can, but I'll be anxious. I would rather prepare myself ahead of time. It could be the introvert within me, but it's best to be prepared. Like, who is this hurting eventually, right? Burnout, something that I like to ask a lot is, who benefits from your burnout? Literally nobody, right? The people that you want to serve
Hmm.
doesn't benefit from it. You don't benefit from it. You are essentially putting yourself on pause for a really long time, and you're hating everything in the process. You're looking at things from a very negative lens. So there is no problem in being in a space where you're just like, I'm gonna be prepared. There's no problem in doing that, right? Like, you can do it. No one's gonna judge you for it, and if they judge you for it, well, they are not being the one who burns out. You are. You have to put yourself first. You have to prioritize yourself first. So, how do you play the burnout awareness game? Coming back to that is make a list. Every time you
Hmm.
feel like, oh, you know what, this is something that is leading me to feel stressed out, this is something that makes my heart go dug, 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 or I feel like I'm breathing very heavily, or I feel like I want to punch someone, I feel like I want to run away from the situation, whatever it is, make a list of it and figure out how many times when a situation like this shows up. Like, maybe you feel stressed out when you have to order coffee, or when you have to order food from a restaurant. Maybe that stresses you out. Make a note of every time that happens. How many times does it happen? How present is this situation in your life? Like, is this something that happens on a daily basis, this situation that potentially stresses you out, or is it a once in a lifetime kind of a thing, right, that happens? When you have that in your mind space, when you're aware of what are some of the things that potentially stresses you out on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, on a once in a lifetime basis, you're better
Yeah.
prepared for it, right? You have an awareness that this is something that almost always stresses me out, so I have to prepare for it. Preventing yourself from going into burnout, managing your stress, starts with being prepared ahead of time. And you have to do it for yourself. No one is going to do it for you. Like, people can support you on the journey, but you are the one who has to take the initiative. That is the second thing that is of utmost importance, is you have to take the initiative, right? People will support you, for the first 5 days, for the first week, for the first month, but eventually they'll be like, bro, I have my own problems to deal with. Like, you have to figure this out on your own. Like, I can't always be here, right? And it's such a tall call to expect people to always be present every time you're stressed out. So how to manage your stress? It's very simple, it's very easy. To be completely honest, a lot of people kind of hype it up way too much, but in
Yeah.
reality it is very easy. It is understanding how you respond to stress. So for me, every time I respond to stress, I know that I start to take shallow breaths. I'm like I get into that space, right, where I am
Yeah.
taking shallow breaths, where my heart is beating out of my chest, where I feel myself like sweating. I feel like this fidgetiness, this almost a sense of, "Ugh, I need to be doing something, I need to be doing something," right? So for
Yeah.
me, that is how I respond to stress. And so the best way to kind of get out of stress in that moment is to basically go into a room, switch on the AC or switch on the fan, right? And then calm down and ground myself. I know it sounds so stupid, like, calm down, you're feeling stressed out, calm down. Like, no, no, no. How do you best calm down? Right? A lot of people, for them, it might look like painting something. For a lot of people, it might look like listening to music. For a lot of people, that might look like meditating. For a lot of people, calming down looks like dancing and singing in the middle of the night. This is me. And waking up my neighbors, right? Like, people have to be like, Madhurima, can you, like, shh, it's 2 o'clock in the night. You have to calm down a bit. And I'm like, yo, that's what I'm trying to do. But you have to understand how you best calm down. How do you get rid of that nervous jittery energy? Because what usually happens, the stress response goes something like this. You notice something which can potentially stress you out, your body starts to respond by going into the fight, flight, freeze, fawn or
Mm-hmm.
faint response, which is basically, fight is where you want to fight a
I'm always
situation.
fighting.
Yeah. Right. And that's cool, that's okay, because that's your body's natural response. You, and a lot of times we're not even aware when we are well into the response. But when we are aware that, yo, I am getting ready to fight someone and beat the shit out of them, I know that I need to go back and take a moment to kind of bring myself down and understand that this situation doesn't necessarily call for it, right? Even if I have
Yeah.
to kind of lock myself away in the room and watch like really loud listen to really loud music or watch anime or something like that, I'm gonna do that. So that when I do respond to someone, it's not coming from the stress response, it's coming from the response of me having calmed down and gotten rid of all that energy. But going back, there's the fight response, there's a flight response where you want to run away from a situation. There is the freeze response where we basically go, I'm a play dead. People won't know that I'm stressed out because I'm playing dead. I'm frozen in this moment.
Yeah.
And when the situation passes over, let it pass over. I don't care. When once everything is done, once I am safe enough, then I will start to kind of come back to myself. This is deer in the headlights situation, right? This is something that happens where you have to give an important presentation and everything's crashing. Your Zoom's not working. Your camera battery died, even though you were sure that you meant, you kind of ensured that it was fully charged. Your mic's not working. All of these things are crashing and burning. You're like, I'm gonna stop and let everything happen around me, and then I will come back into the space where I deal with the damages instead of having to deal with the situation,
That
right?
part. Yep. Mm-hmm.
There's the fun response, which I feel is pretty similar to the people pleasing response, where you people please a person who can better manage the situation because you don't want to manage it at that point of time, right? And then there is the faint response where nothing makes sense, and the best way that your body can respond to a particular situation is basically faint and ensure that this is kind of like amping up the freeze response to a point where everything happens around you and you just like calm down and allow things to happen, and you don't even care what happens, how you respond to situation, you just feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, understanding something crucial here is that all of these responses are survival responses, right? These were responses that helped us when we were fighting off wild animals, or our ancestors were fighting off wild animals, or we were protecting our tribe, or we were trying to ensure that our kids don't stay up hungry all night. This was in very drastic situations that don't necessarily exist in today's day and age. However, we still have those responses, and these responses are important. Stress can actually be super dope because it is what motivates us to actually go out there and start um, doing things, right? It is a great source of motivation. There is something called as the stress productivity curve, where if you're not stressed out enough, you don't have zero motivation. This is what happens with people who retire after working for like 40, 50 years, and then they're just like they're in the space where they're similar to they're experiencing similar things to burnout, where they're
Hmm.
insomniac, where they feel like they have zero sense of purpose and motivation, where they are feeling stressed out, anxious about what to do next. So that space is called bore out, and that basically happens when you have zero motivation, zero things that is stressing you out to get you off of your butt and actually start doing things. A bit more stress after that point leads you to the space of comfort zone, where you're well aware of handling things. You're like, yeah, I can handle this, I can deal with it, I can move through it, without it actually leading to a lot of strain. So a lot of times this is what happens when we are procrastinating, is we are not stressed out enough. We don't have enough factors that is pushing us to do a particular thing right away. We are just like, this is something that we can handle, we can do this pretty easily, I don't have to necessarily go out there and start doing it asap. I can do this after a point of time and still get it done. Now we reach the top. So imagine like a bell shaped curve, and you reach the top. That is when you are experiencing really high levels of stress, and you are at your highest level of productivity, right? This is, for example, you are submitting your assignment that was due for 3 months, and tomorrow is the due date. Like, it's 11:59 p.m. is the due date, and you are sitting down to write that thing at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You're sitting down to write that assignment or paper at 9 o'clock, and you finish it in within 2 hours. Something that took you 3 months, you finish it in 2 hours, and you submit it, and it's gone. It's out there, right? That is your peak productivity level. That is when you have good amount of stress that's motivating you, and you're being at your highest level of productivity. Beyond that is or for example, for podcasters, it could be similar to, you have a new season coming, but the guest
Yeah.
who was supposed to show up for tomorrow's session hasn't showed up yet, and you have to still record, you have to edit things. And then when the guest shows up, you record a wonderful session, you finish editing things, and you put it out there, and it's gone, right? You get it done really quickly. After this point, though, if the stress keeps increasing, your productivity starts to decline, right? Imagine the server crashing just as you're
Yeah.
about to upload it, and you have to upload it at that particular. You can already feel that, oh my god, why is this happening, right? That's when fatigue shows up. That's when anger shows up. That's when you start to feel irritated about a lot of things that's happening. You're like, this sucks. I don't know why I'm even bothering to be a podcaster. Blah 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 blah. You have all of these negative things show up because nothing's working. Your productivity is decreasing. You can't do anything at that point of time, and the stress is just amping up. If you
Yeah.
stay in this situation for a really long time, that's when you burn out. And in burnout, you don't have any passion. You're like, I'm not even gonna bother with this podcast, I'm gonna quit. I don't care. I don't think people care if I quit.
God forbid.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna disappear and let the world handle however it wants to handle this particular situation. This is what happens. So what do we end up being in this space, or how do we actually get out of this space? A lot of people think that being at that optimal spot at the very top of the bell curve is the best way to be, but according to me, the best thing that you can do is be in the comfort zone, and then tap the optimal spot a few times and come back to the comfort zone. Why? Because when you're in the comfort zone, you don't know how much stress is too much stress, right? You might be in
Mm.
the zone, but you can very easily be pushed into the space of irritation and anger if you're constantly there, right? You have to come back to the comfort zone, and you have to experience the normality of life, and then be in the flow state, and then come back to the normal life, and then be in the flow state, right? It doesn't make any sense if you're constantly in the flow state, because all you're doing is you're pushing yourself to constantly be at the top of your energy and productivity, and you're trying to be everything all at once, which doesn't
Mm.
always work. You need to be in the comfort zone and tap the optimal spot a few times before coming back to the comfort zone. So with that being said, we understood what stress is. Stress is basically physiological responses to a particular situation, right? And the best way to kind of get out of those physiological responses, oh, we have someone in the room.
Ooh. Hello, new person.
Yes, they are probably entering right now. All right, all right. Hello, Barry. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, the audio is really
Yeah,
low.
yeah, the audio is really low. We can't hear you that well.
Are you guys having burnout problems too? Stress?
So I am basically like a burnout coach. I'm a stress and burnout coach, and I was just hosting the space for podcasters who could potentially experience burnout and what we can do to better manage it.
Okay, I actually produce two podcast shows and I try to space my
Hmm.
recordings. I like to mix them up, right? So maybe one day I'll do one show, maybe a couple of recordings, and then I'll do the second show later on. Because I don't want to jam up my day by doing, say, I know people like to do five or six in a day, like record one after the other, and that's a lot
Yeah,
of work, right? So
yeah,
I usually just do a couple a day. And I
yeah,
don't do every day either. I might do 2 days this week and then edit them and get them uploaded and then do 2 days next week, right? Because I don't
yeah,
want to get overwhelmed by saying, well, I've got to do 20 podcasts in a week. Because I know people always want to reach goals, right? You say,
yeah,
oh, you have to do 50 podcasts by the end of the month. Well, that puts a lot of pressure on you, right? To
yeah,
do 50 podcasts.
yeah,
I'm up to 25 now,
yeah,
and I try to pace myself, right? As I don't need to do 100 or 1,000 or whatever.
yeah.
I'll just, pace myself.
I love
So
that.
that's what
Yeah.
I do.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Barry. We will be moving into that space where we will ask for any tips that you might have to potentially share. At the moment, because we are well into the process of explaining in this webinar what we are doing, I was just
Yeah.
explaining about the stress and productivity curve and how we can better manage our stress. So, as I was saying, stress is basically physiological responses to a particular situation that could freak us out, right? So the best way to manage our stress is to kind of get rid of all those chemicals that's rampaging through our body and ensuring that we can come back to a space of normality, right? Our homeostasis space inside our body. And the best way to do that is basically one of the best ways to do that is movement, right? Small movements that can allow ourselves to kind of get back into that normal space. So a lot of times, something that I would like to suggest is, instead, a lot of people like to do like hardcore workouts to kind of manage the stress, but that can be potentially risky because it can end up hurting your muscles because you're basically strained up completely in that situation, because you are, once again in the, I'm either fight this person or I have to run away, so your muscles are primed to react in that situation. And the best way to kind of relax your body and relax all of those muscles is basically go for a walk, shake things off, right? It could also be dancing. Dancing is something that's really dope, like slowly dancing and getting rid of all that jitteriness and all of that energy can be something that is really powerful. So that is something that you can do. And a lot of people, once again, it comes back to how do you personally like to calm down. A great way to calm down during a process like this could also be just meditation, just grounding yourself, right? Just ensuring that you're focusing on your breath and bringing it back to normal instead of breathing really shallow breaths where you're, right, you come back to normalcy and you try to take like really deep breaths and bring yourself back to a space where you're completely calmed down. So that could be one of the ways that you can manage your stress. You can get rid of all that nervous energy and you can come back to normal space. I would like to invite you. We will be having, I am one of the case study speakers, and tomorrow, if you add it to your agenda, I am having a space where I talk about the top 10 ways to avoid burnout and manage your stress. So definitely check it out. And if you have any questions in the meantime, I would be more than happy to answer them. I have added in the chat, if you look into the chat in the pinned comments, I have a resource where you can manage. It's basically a masterclass that can help you maintain a really high level of creativity and a positive mindset throughout whatever project that you're doing. This was my very first Podfest session that I did as a case study speaker, but it's kind of amped up because instead of it being a 5-minute session, this is like a 20-25 minute session that you can check out, and that can be something that could potentially support you. I also have the Stress Busters community, which as I mentioned, my mission in life is to make stress management fun. And this is a community that focuses on that mission and on the fact that we can go out there and have, like, with all your craziest dreams, you have a community that is supporting you through it. And you can join it, it's for free, and it's like a pay what you want. So if you want to, if you feel like whatever value is being provided is something that's powerful for you, you can pay whatever you want. If you don't want to pay, that's fine as well. It's a no stress community, and you can join and have fun as you move through it. With that, I would like to give the mic over to MJ. What is something that you do to help manage stress as a podcaster?
I schedule so like as far in advance as I can, and I schedule blocks of time for recording. So all my guests know I only have Tuesday, Thursday in the evening to record, or like Thursday, Friday in the mornings to record, because I'm interviewing folks from East Coast all the way to the West Coast.
Nice, that's
What
pretty
kind of
clever.
podcast do you have, Angie? What's your podcast about?
So my podcast is Off the Struggle Bus. I'm focusing on navigating the space between scarcity and abundance. And it's very much through a public service and money, finance, personal finance lens is what I do.
Okay. And here's what I do. I try to mix up my day. So I'll do this, and I think it works good for me. I do a little bit of podcast recording, then I go out and maybe I do a mixer event where I network with people. Then maybe I go to a movie, then go I do shopping, right? So I mix up my day so I'm not just doing one thing all day long, right? Say, oh, I'm going to record podcast for 6 hours and get really stressed out and my voice is going to wear out too, right? By
Yeah,
talking that long. So that's what I do is I mix up my day. So I do different things.
that's pretty dope
And
advice, Barry.
yeah, and it works for me, right? You don't want to just do one thing and you're sitting in your chair, you're getting all stiff and everything, right? For 4 hours or whatever. And you see, I'm all stiff now and I feel lousy now. And then you can't do it, you maybe want to go lie down, right?
Mm, yeah. Now that makes a lot of sense. Can you share with us what is your podcast all about, Barry?
Well, my podcast is called The Connected Networker. And I interview people that are CEOs, authors, influencers, and networking organizations. And the topics we discuss are branding, marketing, publicity, and media. I actually had even a special guest on to talk about a topic called trafficking, human trafficking. And she's actually the author of a book. That's why I had her on my show, because she's an author and she's involved in human trafficking. I said, okay, that ties into my concept. You're an author of a book. You wrote about your life experience, bad experience in being human trafficked. And I interviewed her, and it was a great interview we had. So I'm always looking for inspirational people that can inspire and offer good knowledge and resources to my listeners. And my podcast is global worldwide. It's on Anchor and Spotify. And besides that one, I work in the movie industry, which can be stressful, working on film sets. So I do a second podcast. I don't do it on the same day. I promote maybe both of them at the same time if I'm going networking. And it's called Ready, Set, Action Live with Barry Hollywood. Because I work in the industry as a backgrounder and an actor. So whenever I go meet people, I say, I do two podcasts, Connected Network and the Ready Set Action. And if you know anybody that works in the film industry, they'd like to be on my podcast, by all means. If you know anybody who wants to learn about branding and marketing, post in media, by all means. Because I get the A-list people on my show. I've got people connected to Oprah Winfrey. You must know who that is. Yeah. Jill Lubin, she did a really good talk about her books. She's a best-selling author. I don't think Amazon or New York Times best-selling author. So, and then here's the thing too. I'll tell you one last thing. I actually wrote a book first called Make Quality Connections, How to Up Your Networking Game. I know somebody's going to do a talk on how to turn your podcast into a book. Well, I turned my book into a podcast
Nice.
because I wrote the book first and I said, okay, so how can I market the book? Do a podcast. And it works, right? Because the book is called The podcast is called The Connected Networker, and the title of the book is called Make Quality Connections. It fits. So I market my book through my podcast. And that's how I get booked on other shows as a guest. It's a good tip for you guys
Yeah.
that are in podcasting. So I always tell people, I got a lawyer coming up be on my podcast. I said, "Do you write a book yet?" He said, "No, but people say I should write a book." I said, "Yeah, you should, because you can take all your legal experience in acting, whatever you've done, theater, acting, whatever, put it in a book and share your experiences."
Love that.
So he's going to be on my show in April. I met him off of a webinar event. No, I think I met him on this event here.
Wow. You know what? I want to invite you guys. Thank you so much, first of all, MJ and Barry, for sharing those amazing tips. I want to invite you to drop them in the chat, links to your podcast, so that people can check it out. And when I post the replay, you can also put it in the meetup space, basically, where you found the link to joining this event, so that people can check you guys out and follow you and subscribe to you and reach out to you if they are interested in either being on your podcast or having you on their podcast. So let's go with that. The next part of this section is hot seat coaching. So if you are someone who is currently reaching that tipping point of nearing burnout, or is looking to understand how they can best manage the stress and burnout, you can let me know, and we can have like a quick 5 to 10 minute hot seat coaching kind of a situation. If you feel like, you know what, you are watching the replay and you're like, I missed my chance, or you prefer being in a one-on-one space, if you join the stress busters community, you get a complimentary 45-minute coaching session one-on-one with me, where no one else has access to anything happening around you. So yeah, you can definitely do that. uh
Another good idea to de-stress is list the very soothing music.
oh,
Like
definitely.
put very soothing music, a low volume, and let that, sink into your mindset. Not loud music, just and not rock and roll either. I listen to Yanni. Have you
Yeah.
guys heard of Yanni or
Oh yeah,
Enya?
Miani.
That's very relaxing music. Or classical might be good too, right? Like classical music. You just let that, you know, enter your mindset and soothe your brain a little bit and
Yeah.
relax you.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, that's so cool. Amma, I actually wanted to put music during the space, but I forgot all about it. But drop your favorite music stuff to listen to when you are feeling stressed out that can help you calm down. I just dropped one of the ones that I enjoy a lot, and I will be posting it for you, Barry, in the Podfest group as well, so that you can check it out. But I would love to hear some of your music as well that helps you calm down.
Yeah, I do a
What do
lot
you
of
like? What kind of music you like, Angie?
um so I listen to a lot of lo-fi chill hop music when I'm trying to focus.
Like
So
Studio
Okay.
it's just
Ghibli.
hmm?
Like Studio Ghibli?
um it's like lo-fi fruits. It's like it's like all these hip hop songs, but they've made it lo-fi.
Makes sense.
That's what I do.
Makes sense. I love that. You definitely need to. You guys, you definitely need to kind of drop some of the things that you listen to in the
Yeah, I'm
app,
not
because
looking for it.
that would be so dope. But yeah, I kind of got stuck and thrown out of the internet. Uh, which I feel like, you know what, every time that happens, one of the things that I've told myself is, the internet couldn't handle my glorious self, and so it's blocked me, and then I'll come back. But that's basically what happened. So it helps me kind of like ensure that I'm not freaking out behind the stage. But I wanted to ask you if anyone is interested in being coached, or if you guys have any questions, I am open to move through that as well. I'm down.
And
Absolutely.
where are you from? Hunter? Where are you from?
Me,
Angie's from New Jersey, but what state are you from?
I am from India. I'm from Hyderabad, India.
Oh, okay, we have a lot of Indian people in my city of Winnipeg.
Nice.
We have a lot of culture of Indians in our city here.
Wow, that's so dope.
Bollywood.
Yeah.
You must know Bollywood. We got people in Bollywood here, too.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so dope.
Yeah, it's a very interesting city I live in. Lived here for 40 years in Winnipeg.
Wow. So do.
So are you a podcaster yourself too?
Yeah, I have a podcast called The Soul's Conquest, where I'm currently interviewing coaches, creatives, and entrepreneurs from around the world. Basically, share their story with the next generation of change makers, and they share stories of their struggles, what were some of the solutions that they came up with, and they basically take us through their journey in hopes to inspire people who are looking for solutions and who are feeling all alone in their journey. You know, a lot of times I feel like when you hit the rock bottom space, you're like, I'm all alone in this. But reality is, a lot of people were in similar situations as you are. And listening to other people's story can probably inspire you and can have, bring you tips that you can try out if you resonate with them. Yeah.
And are you looking for any guests for your show? Can I offer
I,
you referrals?
yeah, you can definitely offer me referrals. Yeah, I am
Okay.
currently recording for season 7, and season 6 will go live in yeah, in a couple of weeks. But yeah, season 6 goes live next month, and I am recording for season 7, so I am always down for, like, I batch record like way ahead of time, so that I don't experience any kind of stress in this, because I'm not just like a podcaster. I have to do a lot of other things on the side. But to answer your question, Barry, yeah, you can definitely share referrals of anyone who is a creative. Creative could also be an actor. I have had an actor before on the show as well, from Podfest actually. And if you know anyone who is a creative, who's a coach, who's an entrepreneur, who would like to share their story with the world, send them my way.
And have you heard of a network called WWTVN?
Yeah, wait, but I'm not sure if it is the TVN from India or if it is the TVN from
No,
abroad.
this is from Los Angeles.
I haven't
The
heard of it.
lady that runs it, have you heard of Vince Vaughn, the actor in
Yeah,
Hollywood?
yeah,
And you've heard of him, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So the mother of Vince Vaughn runs an original women's network, but she rebranded it called Worldwide TV Network.
Ooh,
They get 50 million viewers on the platform, 50 million, and she ports it over to other platforms. She either's got a license deal or a partnership deal with the other streaming platforms that she shares the business content record on her platform with other platforms. And I was actually on one of the shows on the platform
yeah.
of WWTVN. Take a note of this. It's www.tvn.com. You could be a guest on the show there. It's called She Shed TV. It's a variety show, and you could be a guest on Sullivan Belanger's show because she recorded me a few months ago, and I think it's going to air in the summer worldwide to
Wow,
50 million viewers.
wow.
That's a lot of viewers,
Yeah,
50 million.
thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So that's a streaming network you might want to check out. It's all free to watch the shows, and you can decide, well, I would like to be on this show or
Mhm.
that show. But check it out
Thank you
because
so
she's
much.
quite the lady.
Thank you
And
so
she's going
much.
to be a guest on my show in August. She's a CEO
I
of
would
WWTVN.
I would definitely love to interview her as well. Thank you so much for that,
Yeah,
Barry. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Coming back, I think MJ had a question before we got swept up into all of this amazing conversations, and I'm here for it. But MJ, did you have a question for me?
Oh, I think I've lost the question.
Oh no, it's okay. You guys can,
Uh-oh.
anyone who has any questions who's watching this in the replay, if you have any questions for me, you can definitely drop them in the box, and I would be more than happy to answer them as soon as possible. But yeah,
Okay, so I'm coming up in about 9 minutes for my next event.
yeah, no worries. We are just wrapping things up. I hope that this event was helpful for you and it gave you a little bit of insight. Barry, I know you joined us halfway through, but I'll be posting this in the replay and I'll be explaining a little bit more about stress and burnout. So I hope that helped, and it could be one of the takeaways for you guys. Thank you so much, MJ and Barry, for the amazing insights and tips that you shared with us. It makes my heart warm that people like you are out there creating such amazing things for people all around the world to listen to. We are
Thank
creating
you,
impact
Mark.
as we speak. So, yes, let's go.
Yeah. Thanks for hosting. This was helpful and
Man,
a good reminder of handling burnout and stress.
man, man.
Yay! Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much
Okay, you
for.
ladies have a great day then, and maybe we'll catch you again.
Yes, for sure. Thank you,
Or I'll
Barry, for being here.
watch your speaker presentation.
Thank you so
Okay,
much. Take
okay,
care. Have fun.
great.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.